All right, we're going to get started here. Hello, my name is Layla. I'm the Audiology Software Support and Training Specialist here at Blueprint Solutions. Today's webinar will be an overview of Blueprint's integration with NOAA and generating medical reports. Also, my colleague Ben is in the chat, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask him there in the chat. We'll just jump right in. So our integration with NOAA provides the following functions. It's going to be transmitting patient data from Blueprint to NOAA, and then transmitting the audiometric data from NOAA into Blueprint. So let's get started. I'm just going to create a new patient here. Once creating a new patient, it will automatically transfer over into NOAA, and I'll show you what this looks like here. When I select Create Patient, it's going to prompt us if we'd like to export this patient to NOAA. We can click Yes now or export at a later time. For this example, I'm going to click Yes. This patient will now be in NOAA. If you ever need to export at a later time, you can do this by going to the NOAA dropdown and selecting Export Patient to NOAA. We can now open up NOAA, and we'll see this patient in NOAA here. One moment while I share my NOAA screen. We can now see this patient I just created in NOAA. It's going to include their name, their date of birth, and here below we're going to see their address that we added. It can take up to 15 seconds to transfer from Blueprint into NOAA. Now that we have it in NOAA, we can complete an audiogram. For this example, I'm just going to be doing an audiogram today. Speech and impedance data will also transfer from NOAA into Blueprint. Now that we have an audiogram saved into NOAA, we can go back into Blueprint, and this audiogram will automatically populate into the patient's audiology tab. Like before, it may take up to 15 seconds to transfer from NOAA into Blueprint. Clicking this blue refresh here button at the bottom will get that audiogram to show up. For the sake of time, today we're going to be looking at a patient with a full data set, including speech and impedance. We're going to use my patient here, Joe Anderson. If I go into his audiology tab, we can see with his audiogram, he has speech data and impedance data entered within his audiogram. If needed, we can edit any of this information. This can be done by just selecting Edit here. All of these are editable. You can change everything from the severity to any of these data points here. This goes to the same also in speech and impedance. If needed, we can also add ICD codes. We can go through, check off the ICD codes that we need, and click OK. Those will now generate on your HCFA forms. If this looks all correct, I'm going to click Save. Now that we have the audiogram in their audiology tab, we now can generate medical reports. On Monday, 5 new audiogram and audiological reports were uploaded into all of your Blueprint systems. We can access these by either right-clicking on the audiogram or selecting this Reports dropdown here. Here we can see all of your default audiology reports in your system. The new ones include the adult speech banana patient dual reports, dual audiograms here, along with the pediatric and a set of hearing assessments with dual audiograms with and without a TIMP graph, and one with Quicksand. For this example, let's look at the hearing assessment dual audiograms with TIMP graph. When I select this, we can see all of this information will auto-populate on this form. Everything from the patient's information up top to those audiograms, and then the TIMP tracings here below. You can also see the impedance data and speech data was also transferred over. The next thing I want to show you is text snippets. This feature is really awesome to create personalized text library of text segments and sentences. These text snippets can be used for fast completion of journal entries and medical reports. To access them, we can just double click here on the right side in this purple panel. When I double click in my recommendation sections, this will pop up. Here on the right are all of your text snippets. These are the text snippets categories, and if I click on one, within them are each of your text snippets. To add them to the report, You can either double-click them, drag and drop, or you can enter in the quick text in black here. So for this example, if I were to type in RDL and select enter, we can see that text will automatically populate here. You're able to create your own text snippets by selecting Add Text Snippet at the top here. You can add your own text string, choose a category you'd like to add it to, and you can also add an auto text if you'd like. This lockbox here is what would make your text snippet personal. A private text snippet can only be viewed and used by the user that created that text snippet. So you can create those as well. We can click Save here. Like before, all of these fields are fully editable, so if you needed to change anything around, you can change it here. Same with the fields up top. If I'm done with this report, I have a couple of options on what I can do. I can print it out if I needed a hard copy. I can email or fax it to a physician straight from here. I can archive it to the patient's file. I can download it to my computer, and then you also have the option to sign it if you'd like. For this example, I'm going to archive it to the patient's file. When I select archive, it's going to ask if I'd like to allow for future editing. We'll just say no, and we'll lock the form. Here you can give a name for the form. You can add it to a category as well. You can add a description if needed, and a status too. Here we can see this checkbox at the bottom that says Display in Audiology. If this is checked off, it will display an Audiology with the audiogram below it. We'll check this off and I'll show you what this looks like. I can click Save. Now if we go into this Patient's Document tab, we can see there's that archive form that I was working on here. We can also see if we go back to their Audiology tab, we can see it's now going to show below this audiogram. And will be there for quick reference in the future if you ever need to reference this report again. Next, we're going to look at our journal entry features. With journal entries, we're able to also display them in Audiology like we can with these reports, and we can also require them on specific event types. So first, to add a journal, we're just going to go to the Journal tab here. An easy way to create a journal is just to go to the Journal tab and select New Entry here at the bottom. We can select our entry type here. For this example, we'll select Chart Note. And like before, we have access to those text snippets. So we can select a text snippet we'd like. When we're done, we can also check off this Display in Audiology again if we'd like. When I check this off, it will show in the Audiology tab with those audiogram. If we needed to, we can also change the date. I'm going to click Save here. We can see it's now going to show here. And now if I go into the Audiology tab, it's also going to show in the Audiology tab with the audiogram. If needed, you can always edit it again at a later date and enter in any other information here. Now I'm going to show you how we can require these journal entries on specific event types. To do this, we're going to go into the Setup menu, Scheduling, Event Types. Here you can choose which event types you'd like to require a journal entry. To do that, all you need to go in is select Edit Details on that event type and check off this box here, this journal entry required here. Once that's checked off, we can go to our scheduling here. For the sake of time, I already scheduled an appointment for this patient with that event type of wax removal. Once this appointment is completed, we can right-click, mark it as completed. We can see that its lockbox is going to show red, since a journal entry is required. Until a journal entry is linked to this appointment type, it's going to show red. After it's added, it will then show black like the other completed events. To link in a journal to an appointment, all we need to do is right-click, and here we have the option to create a linked journal entry. So if we wanted to create a new one, we can do it like that. We can link an existing journal entry here, or we can view the journal entries. For this example, I'm going to link the journal entry we just created. We can see it's going to populate all of the journal entries on this patient's account. Here's the one that I just created, and I can select Link. We can now see on the other tab over, it's now linked to this appointment, and I can select Apply. Since I linked that journal entry, the lockbox went from red to black. If I ever need to view that journal entry again, I can right-click and select View Linked Journal Entries, and here it will show. Like before, if you needed to make any updates to it, you can select Edit Details. The last thing I wanted to show today is our template tool. So in addition to the 5 new templates released into your system, we have different variations that were released on our website that if you'd like, you can add them into your Blueprint system. So to access these, we're going to go to our website. So once you go to blueprintsolutions.us, you can click these 2 little arrows at the top. Here it'll bring you to the bottom of the screen. We're going to go into the resource section. And at the very bottom, we can see what's called our template tool. When I select template tool, it's going to bring us to this website. Here's where we keep all of our merge fields and any other templates that you can use. We're going to filter by audiological forms here and click next. Now we're going to select PDF since these forms are in the PDF. We can select template here, and here you can see a variety of different forms of different variations of those speech banana templates here. We can see they come combined or dual, and then with or without the TIMP graph. If you want to add one into your system, they already have all the merge fields added. All you need to do is click here to download. It will download it to your computer, and then you can open up your Blueprint again. We'll go to Setup, Templates, Forms, and here you can upload that downloaded form into your Blueprint. And it then will be accessible in the Audiology tab under this Reports dropdown. That covers everything that we wanted to go over today in this NOAA integration webinar. Are there any questions? So the text snippets are going to be shared between all users unless you make them specific or private. So to do that, let's open up this here again. So if you're adding a new text snippet, it's going to be accessible by all users unless you make it personal and lock it. If I were to lock it, only my user profile would be able to access those text snippets. So as long as you have a Wi-Fi connection, Blueprint and NOAA will connect. If you need help with getting your NOAA integration set up, you can definitely send in a support ticket, and then on the back end, our technicians will get that integration set up for you. Are there any other questions before we end this webinar today? So the only one with an additional charge is the NOAA integration. All the other reports, the text snippets, and the journals are all free and included with your Blueprint system. Can you use your own patient forms for online forms? Absolutely, you can upload any of your own forms into Blueprint. That template tool I showed you is where you can add any of those merge fields. And you can also see in the setup menu is where you can upload any of those forms here. To make it fillable, you'll use those merge fields from template tool for those online forms. If you have any additional questions about online forms, you can definitely submit a support ticket. We can help you in assisting you with that too. To add your own signature into Blueprint, you can do that in the setup menu. You can go into user administration, users. You can select your user, go into edit details, and here you can click to upload a signature. So I recommend scanning it into your computer, and then you can upload it here. For this example here, I believe I have a signature. You can select your signature, and here within Blueprint, you'll be able to size it so it fits, and select Save. And that will then be saved on your user profile. And then, yes, all fillable online forms will pull the information from Blueprint into the form. For your signature, I recommend scanning it into your computer and just saving it as a file on your computer, and then you can upload it into Blueprint. All right, if there aren't any other questions, I'm going to end the webinar here. You guys will get a recording of this webinar at the end of the week. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call or send in a support ticket.